Hey guys, it's the WalterFootball.com After Dark show for September 19, 2024. We're going to be doing our Week 3 fantasy football breakdown here before we intro our guests, our returning guests. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit the link in the description for the merch store. As you can see here, we have a ton of t-shirts, all priced between $17 and $19. I'm wearing one of them here. So I always do this. I always wear my shirts. But like I said, yesterday, my wife makes fun of me because it's like my entire wardrobe minus like 3 shirts. So these are high quality shirts I've owned for years. And I think they are reasonably priced. So buying one of these would really help support the show. Also, please consider super chats, super stickers. All that would be awesome. Can't Meek an Eagle yesterday helped us for $1.99. In the past, like more recently, we had Slew, John Sanders. You guys have been so awesome. And then previously, Germ, the Degeneron, Kevin Kovac. You guys have been so great with your contributions. Just really appreciate all your help. So, like I always say, YouTube ads pay nothing. So if you really want to keep the show going, that's a great way to do it. Also, you can go on Amazon, buy my books. My third book is Jerks to the College Years. I have a section on the site called Jerks of the Week where I make fun of people. And as you can see here, I made fun of these lovely individuals here. I met them during my 6 years at Penn State. So you can read all about that here. My second book was How the 2020 MVP Was Stolen. This is an expose I wrote about how Brett Favre tried to sabotage Aaron Rodgers during the 2020 season to take the MVP away from him. So if you're in for a wild story, you definitely want to check this one out. All right, so we are joined by Kenny, the cap is fake.com. Kenny, how's it going? And how have you been? It's been a while.
Oh man, I've been traveling, gallivanting around the world. Being a grifter, and I'm a professional grifter. That's what I do nowadays.
Nice. Nothing wrong with being a grifter.
Hey, speaking of grifters, I saw Matt Walsh's recent film, the Daily Wire's film called the Am I Racist?
Yeah.
Speaking of many of the grifters within the anti-racism movement in America, and it was it was a solid B+ film. Well, worth seeing.
I really want to see it. I don't get to go to the movies these days, with 2 kids. My son is 2.5. My daughter just turned 1. And my wife, she works. I work full time, obviously, in this football season. So I don't know when I'll get a chance to see it, but I really do want to see it. And I heard like nothing but good things about it. And good things from the good people, whereas like
Exactly.
other people like try to shut it down and like try to ban it from the theaters, which makes you want to see it more. So congratulations on doing that, people. So
we went opening night primarily because my wife and I wanted to support it. So
yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I definitely want to check it out. It looks hilarious from everything I've seen, and from everyone who's talked about it just had like glowing things to say about it. Like I think your B+ is like the lowest thing, lowest grade anyone has given. I think some girl I listened to on she was on Tim Cash show. She gave it an 8 out of 10. So that's kind of, I guess that's in line with what you said. But yeah, it looks funny, and it's funny that some of these people were really tricked by it, like Robin D'Angelo, whatever her name is.
It'll also kind of tick you off. It'll piss you off too, because you just see the ridiculous things that are happening in our nation. So.
Yes. Titan says the Titans are 0-2, just like Trump assassins. Yeah, that's true. Well, they're going to win eventually, so hopefully the latter does not.
The Titans are the assassins. Who's going to win eventually? Let's hope the Titans.
Titans will win eventually. Let's hope the latter does not win as well. Kenny, Cassandra, happy to see Kenny. Glad Kenny's back. Dick says, does Achane still suck, Kenny? Bad take. Did you say Achane sucked? I think our argument was that he's super injury prone and just won't last all year.
I thought he was injury prone, and I wasn't confident that the Dolphins would actually want to rely on him because he was so efficient last year. I just suspected to come back to the mean, and he has been incredibly efficient. So 2 games in, that has not come back to the mean as I would expect, but we'll see. It's early.
Well, the Slew says Achane 3.8 yards per carry so far in 2024. Well, he hasn't actually been good as a runner. Like Miami can't run the ball because they lost Connor Williams. They also lost Robert Hunt, their 2 best run blockers. but the way they're using him in the passing game is just it's just incredible. So
right, it's his on a per touch basis. I mean, Sloot mentioned the yards per carry. I don't know what is yards per reception.
It's got to be pretty high.
But it's got to be pretty. Yeah, so it's in the passing game, and he's been great. And listen, hey, receiving yards count too. So I just don't expect it to keep at that clip. It just feels unrealistic. And in addition to that, the injury concerns are there.
Yeah, 10.4 yards per catch.
That's
right
pretty.
now.
That's for me. That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
so.
For running back, that's great. Because usually for running backs, you'll see like 6 or 7, like 10. 10's insane. Joey says, "Hey Walter, how about them Saints? Told you we run the ball at will." Yeah, I mean the Saints have been incredible. I talked about it yesterday, but like the Eagles are playing the Saints this week, and I just don't know what to make of the game because I've been so off on the Saints. The Saints have destroyed both the Panthers and the Cowboys, and granted, the Panthers suck, and I've been like very down on the Cowboys. So maybe they're not as impressive as they seem because I was down on those two teams, but then again they've demolished the competition. So I really want to evaluate them.
What's the line on that? Like what are the odds thinking on that?
For what, Eagles Saints or what?
Yeah,
Saints are the -2.5.
Saints are -2.5. Okay, that's the Eagles' run stopping has been terrible thus far. And I could see Kamara just running all over them. I've got by the way, I've got Kamara in our fantasy league, and you and I play each other this week. So
yeah, my team's not going so well because I had to reach on all my players because everyone was going to steal them from me. And this is the only league where I think I didn't draft AJ Brown. I'm in 3 leagues. I drafted AJ Brown in 2 leagues. So,
I have him in that league.
I'm hurting there. So anyway,
I just had to drop Khalil Herbert today to pick up someone, and that was painful. It was painful.
I'll have to pick him up because you dropped CJ Stroud last year and I picked them up. So I feel like there's good mojo with me picking up the players who drop.
Yeah. Although I've been, listen, you guys want to talk about my Devon Achane take, but I've got a lot of takes that have been pretty good this far. 2 games in, 2 games in, I don't want to take a victory lap just yet, but a lot of my summer takes are panning out decent thus far.
We'll have to get to them. Nino asking, you guys might not love this one, but just traded Ramondre for King Henry. Any thoughts? I don't get the running back for running back trade. Just it feels like there's obviously going to be a clear loser there. Whereas if you're trading running back for a receiver, you said I really need a receiver, or the other guy needs a running back, so it makes sense to trade. But why? I never got running back for running back trade or receiver for receiver trade.
Unless just each guy just thinks they're getting the better end of the deal, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I don't like Derrick Henry, but then I don't like the Patriots either. Stevenson's run well though through 2 games. They're using him a lot, but I feel like the Patriots are due for regressions in the mean. They got lucky in the Bengals game where the Bengals just didn't look like they were too focused with the Chiefs coming up, and then Seattle just notorious for being bad against the run. So we'll see about Stevenson. Although this week he looks good against the Jets, who can't stop the run either.
Ramondre is one of the guys. Although it's funny, I don't have him in any of my leagues, but he was a guy I was touting a lot. I was higher on him, but just for whatever reason, I never ended up drafting him, other than some best ball leagues. But I think we debated this over the summer a little bit, but I just think sometimes the Patriots are definitely going to be bad. They're going to suck. And I'm just well, I don't know, maybe not. And so I like Stevenson. I think trading him away for Derrick Henry is sorry, Nino, but I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have Stevenson too. But I do think the Patriots will still be terrible. Like I said, I think they got lucky. It kind of reminds me of remember in 2020 the Jaguars won their first game against the Colts. They were 9-point dogs. Phillip Rivers was on the Colts, and then they lost every game after that, and then they got Trevor Lawrence. I feel like that could be the New England's fate. Nino says, seems almost like Breece Hall gets most points in the passing game. He's talking about Achane. Yeah, he's used a lot in the passing game. And, got to suspect he's going to be used more given that the new quarterback is limited. So asking, why did I draft Michael Pittman in the 5th round? So it's funny, Pittman, his role is so different this year with Anthony Richardson because Richardson is just bombs away. Whereas last year, Minshew was just throwing intermediate passes to Pittman nonstop. Now, Richardson just throwing downfield to Pierce and Adonai Mitchell. And sometimes he's connecting with them, sometimes he's not. Like whoever owns Mitchell is going to be sad. Like the Pierce owners are happy because like Richardson just happened to connect with them. So like Pittman's, I feel like his ceiling is just so much lower with Richardson there. So it's just not a good situation, until like Flacco comes in because Richardson tends to get hurt a lot too.
Yeah, I like Pittman. I don't think Pittman. I think where he was going this summer was mostly a good place. It's still early, and Pittman's. It's not that Pittman's not good down the field. I mean, we saw Pittman with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was a bombs away kind of guy, and sometimes could be stupid in the way he, was risky with the ball down the field. But we saw Pittman be very successful with that. So the fact that it's not been successful with Richardson thus far is a little bit odd to me.
Yeah, Richardson's so inaccurate though in the intermediate throws. Like that I think that's been the issue with Pittman this year.
Yeah, I mean Pittman's a 71st in standard leagues is a 71st. In typical ESPN scoring, he's a 71st receiver right now. That's I can't imagine. I mean, that's terrible. Can't imagine that's going to continue.
If you had a redraft, where would you draft Pittman?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, he might end up being in the same spot because a lot of other guys would be mixed around too. But maybe a little later. But not. I still believe he's a talented player that'll turn around. So, I can't imagine he would be going lower than the 6th round, and I'd still be okay with him there. I'm still bullish on him.
I'm just asking for best ball draft purposes, the redrafts they have going on now. So I've not drafted. I did like week 3 onwards so far, and I have not gotten any Pittmans, even though I've gotten Richardson's. LR asking, what is CMC Mason touch split in the second half? Well, I mean, when is McCaffrey going to be healthy? We just don't know. They lied to us all offseason. They said it was a calf, and then he comes on the injury report with an Achilles. It's like when did that happen exactly? So we don't know how long it's going to take him to get healthy. When he returns, he may not be 100% right away. They might want to ease him into action. So it depends when. Like right away, it might be 50-50 split. But then once they get him going, I think McCaffrey's going to dominate the touches. But you don't know when that's going to be or if that even happens this year. We've seen running backs get hurt and just never come back. Look at Todd Gurley, for example. So I'm not saying McCaffrey's definitely done, but I just when he comes back, you just don't know if he's going to be 100%. This is the problem.
Yeah, it's really hard to know. And Achilles injuries can be funny. So yeah, I mean, we see J.K. Dobbins looks great, but he's clearly not the same player he was a year ago. And so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was a calf injury, as Cassandra says. Well done. That says, Kenny, time to draw Kirk in all leagues. Christian Kirk is just like an afterthought in Jacksonville's offense, apparently. Brian Thomas is getting all the targets.
Yeah, there were in week 1, Kirk did get a clear red zone target that they didn't connect on. He was open. So if he scores a touchdown there, that's a very different, the stats look very different, but yeah, I'm a Christian Kirk lover, and everyone knows that. So that is I've got him in every league. So, pretty much. I mean, every best ball. I mean, I own a lot of Christian Kirk. So, where is he at? He is where is he at? Where's his rank right now in standard leagues? He is 91st receiver ranked overall. I just can't imagine. He's too good for that not to continue. The Jags offense looks terrible right now. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, I'm thinking this guy sucks actually. He's got all the talent and yet they just can't put it together.
He reminds me of is Carson Wentz. He starts off hot, second year his best year, or second or third year best year with Doug Peterson, and he just gets worse every season, just like Carson Wentz did. Peterson is just the kiss of death for a quarterback, apparently. He gets him to play well his first or second year, and then it's all downhill from there. I just wonder if the Jaguars need to find a new coach. I think that getting Ben Johnson, for example, or Slowick or Kubiak, or someone a sharp offensive-minded guy to save Lawrence's career, because he looks so lost in the pocket. Like he looks like he has zero pocket awareness. Like he knows, he has no idea what's going on. He's missing open receivers, like not even seeing them. He just he looks like a train wreck right now. So I do expect him to rebound just because he's that talented, but it's pretty rough for him right now. In fairness, he just played against the Browns, one of the best defenses in the NFL. So it'll get easier from a matchup standpoint, but it's not looking good for him right now.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't drop Kirk yet. I don't think I wouldn't get to that point yet because I believe in the talent, and they just he's still, I think he's getting like he's in on the like 88% of the snaps. So last year he was in on like 87 all year. He's in 88 through 2 games this year. That's a lot of target. That's still still on the field a lot. Yeah. So and again, if he scores a touchdown in week 1 on that one target in the red zone, 13-yard touchdown catch, the stats look very different, and it would not look nearly as bad.
It's true. Dick says 12-man draft is crushed. Jordan Mason, best pick of the year. Josh Allen, Bijan, Achane, Mason, Devontae Smith, Chris Godwin, Jamison Williams, got Tyreek Hill from Panic Owner for ETN. Yeah, well done. That looks like a great team. I drafted Mason in one of my leagues, so pretty happy about that. He was my final pick.
I will tell you this, ATM, by the way, Etienne is the second best running back on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Tank Bigsby, my friend Cartavius. His real name is Cartavius? I just learned that. Anyway, I didn't know. But Mr. Cartavius Bigsby is, I think he's clearly the better running back on the team. Now, whether or not that's, but like the target or the touches are about even through the first 2 games between Bigsby and Etienne, and so if that continues, that's a terrible pick, having gotten Etienne in the what he was going this. He was going second round most leagues this summer.
Yeah, he's going like mid-second, late second. In the best ball redraft right now, he's going like 4th round or something. That's still way too early, I think. I don't like Etienne at all. I like Bigsby is the better runner. Now he's not any sort of receiver out of the backfield, so that's a problem if you're playing PPR. But in standard leagues, like I'd rather have Bigsby, relatively to where you're going to draft them compared to Etienne. I just thought that like getting Bigsby late was pretty good. I did that in one of my leagues. Bagger says, I feel like such a genius dropping Dallas Goedert for Kareem Hunt before MNF, so I can skip the waiver wire. And then the Chiefs go and stash him on the practice squad. Sorry, Keontae Ingram. Yeah, you know what that signing reminded me of was the Cowboys getting Dalvin Cook. Remember they did that at the end of the preseason, and then like Cook is not even like on the active roster. he's not getting any touches. It's all Elliott or Rico Doodle or Deuce Vaughn. It's like one of those 3 guys. Like Cook is nowhere to be found.
By the way, did you call him Rico Doodle?
Doodle. That's Dave, a body burner on here, called him Doodle by accident, and so we just stuck with it.
I almost missed that one.
yeah, it was funny. Kirk stinks. I like Kirk. I just don't like. I feel like the rest of the offense stinks right now. They can't block. Lawrence looks lost. They've had tough matchups. So, John says giving McCaffrey another contract is a kiss of death. Yeah, for sure. And then Madden curse too. You're right. Yeah, it is. Madden curse strikes again. Jay Too Nice says start Stevenson or Pollard at flex. I think Pollard, even though Stevenson has a good matchup. Pollard does too. They both have good matchups. I look at New England's injury report before you make up your mind about this. J2 Nice. New England is going to be missing 2 offensive linemen, and then 2 others are questionable heading into Thursday night. So they could be down 4 offensive linemen potentially. So I think Pollard is the way to go. And yeah, what do you think?
Let me think. I think it's really close. I think you can go either way. I think I like Stevenson a little more. I think he's a slightly better player against the Jets. I think I like that a little bit more. But Pollard's great. He's been great. I was expecting that to be a timeshare between Pollard and Tajay Sharp. Tajay Spears, not Tajay Sharp. Tajay Spears, and they've it's pretty much Pollard. All of the meaningful carries has been Pollard to this point, and so I think it's a coin flip. I would go Stevenson, but I think can go either way.
Yeah, that was the. I thought it was gonna be timeshare too, and then that final preseason game where they played, the whole first drive was all Pollard, and then Sharp did the same thing, and then Spears, Tajay Sharp, by the way, former receiver. Spears played with the backups, like he was on the field with Mason Rudolph. So I thought that was just a huge signal, and that's why I love Pollard so much. I got Pollard, I think, in every league that I'm in. So that's at least been good. So asking, do you envision having a same game parlay for Jets Patriots for us degenerates? Yes. Of course, I will. I've had it for every primetime game so far this year, except for Bears Texans, because there were so many injured question marks heading into that game with Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze. It just didn't like. It was hard to make a parlay out of that, like not knowing who's going to be playing. But I will have one. I don't have like huge leans right now, but I'm going to dig into it and hopefully find something. Dick asking, Doug Peterson, first coach, should be fired. Yeah, I don't know. It could be Dayball maybe. I don't think I'd go with Peterson yet. I think they'll win some games. Like, whereas the Giants may not win any games. Like the Giants had their best chance to win at Washington, and they lost because they didn't have the kicker.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Doug Peterson is fired
During the season or after or both.
During the season. I mean, obviously after the season, definitely possible.
Okay.
Based on what happens.
Okay. John says Kirk is a good play this week with the middle of the field manned by Bills defensive backups. Yeah, the Bills have a lot of injury problems, and Evan Ingram's out, or it looks like he's going to be out again. So yeah, I think Kirk might bounce back. We'll see. It required Jacksonville to play better, which I think they will do. Stanley saying, "Hey Walter, do you think the regression of Daniel Jones is similar to what happened to Carson Wentz?" No, because I mean, Daniel Jones is never good. Like Wentz was an
that's
MVP.
A big difference.
Yeah. Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate, or he was the MVP frontrunner before he got hurt in the second year. And then 2 years after that, he willed the Eagles to the playoffs just on his own. Like the Eagles had
He was
nothing.
awesome the second half of that season.
Yeah. So in his second and fourth seasons, he was amazing. And I don't know about this for sure, but I think when he took that concussion from Jadeveon Clowney in the playoffs, he hasn't been the same since. And you just can't measure what a concussion does, because if a guy tears his ACL, you can tell if he has explosion or not, But like with a concussion, you just can't see it. Yeah. And ever since he had that concussion, he just hasn't been the same. He's just fallen off a cliff. And then that was the big event that happened. So I feel like it has to.
He was terrible the next year in 2020.
Yeah.
But then with the Colts, he had about a 10 or 11 game stretch where he was really good with the Colts in 2021. And then he had the two just terrible games at the end of the year. They missed the playoffs. Yeah. And then he refused to get vaccinated, get the jab, and the owner was pissed about it and traded him to the Redskins. And so I don't know, like you might be right that the concussions impacted him, but he did have a stretch 2 years later where he was decent.
I have to look back. I know he had some good games. I don't know how good they were, but they were in position to make the playoffs, though.
But the difference between Wentz and Jones is Jones has always stunk. He's never been good. He's never had a good moment in his career.
Well, he did run for that. He did run for a few touchdowns, but as a passer, I agree. He never had a great moment.
He's terrible. He's never had a good moment except signing a contract.
Wait a second. We're both wrong. He had a great moment as a passer. Remember the preseason where he looked like Joe Montana?
Exactly. Yeah. I rest my case.
Yes. Barron's maybe Urban Meyer can fix the Jags. Can you imagine if they hired him back? Like you didn't get
rumors that Meyer's gonna that Notre Dame's looking at Urban Meyer apparently.
Really? Oh my god! Like, can you imagine like the Jaguars like you didn't get a fair shake here? Let's try this again. That'd be the worst. Maybe the worst decision ever. Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate. Yeah, exactly. Daniel Jones never was. Would you drop Josh Palmer for Quentin Johnson? I think you have to at this point. Yeah. Johnson looks like revitalized. I'm not completely sold on him, but I think there's a better chance he produces than Palmer.
I think Quentin Johnson, I mean, is wide receiver 3 territory from here on out.
Okay. Maybe. I don't. I'm still skeptical. But I could see that happening. You could be right. Harris Pollard or Moss Pollard for sure. Right.
I don't. Yeah. Why would Harris be or Moss be in the conversation? They stink.
Yeah. Sue says, after last week, do you think Foreman has moved ahead of Ford in Cleveland? Which is weird. Like Foreman had like 14 carries, Ford had what, 8? Well, we're actually going to look at every game here quickly and like kind of break down. We have the stats here. So yeah, Ford is 7 carries for 64, Foreman 14 for 42. Very strange usage here for the Cleveland backs. What do you make of this? Like, what would you do with these guys?
I'm not sure that there's a clear rhyme or reason on what they're doing. Like, when you watch these games, I've watched both of the Cleveland games because I hate myself and want to torture myself. But I've gone back and watched, pretty much watched big chunks of almost every game for the last 2 weeks. But I just, I'm not sure they know what to do with this team. Like, you watch these games, it doesn't seem like the coaching staff knows what they're doing with their rotation. And maybe they don't, maybe it's not their fault. It's just neither of these guys are really good. And at the end of the day, though, it might not be their fault. Watson has been so terrible that it's almost impossible to really rate. And so I don't know that anything we've seen thus far is really helpful to inform what's going to happen going forward. Because Watson's been awful. I don't understand. Like, I don't know what happened to this guy. I don't know if just like the year off just really impacted him. If the off the field stuff impact, I don't know. Who knows? But I think it's almost impossible to really make any strong decisions. So I think Foreman's a slightly better player than Ford. I think maybe I'm in the minority in that. I don't know. So if I were going to bet on one or the other, maybe I would bet on Foreman over Ford, but I wouldn't want to be putting a lot of stock in either one right now.
I think as far as like best ball, like it's kind of more significant, just because, in there you like to load up on receivers and go running back later. But I think I'd still take Ford over Foreman at this point. I just feel like it's going to come back the other way. Maybe it's like a one-time thing, but I don't know. It is close. I'd have just based on where Ford is going right now. I'd have issues taking him. Like I ended up with Foreman on a couple of my teams, but that was later in the draft. So it's like whichever guy you can get later. But as far as like year-long fantasy, it's hard to trust either right now. Just because you don't know what's going to happen now, and maybe you definitely want to stash them on your bench just to maybe one emerges or maybe one gets injured and then like the other one just gets all the carries. So just I think that's your best hope for any production. Cassandra says at least you admit that SGPs are for degenerates. So they not just for degenerates, but like they're good to keep your account going because. Not on FanDuel or DraftKings necessarily, but like the lower ends, like PointsBet, for example, like they'll restrict you if you make too many smart bets. They restricted me. The most I can bet on anything on PointsBet is $5. I can't bet anything more right now, so I pulled all my money. So you want to do?
Oh, that's kind of lame.
It really is. Yeah, I won too much money on there, so they're like, no more. So with same game parlay. It is like a negative EV bet. And so I think if the algorithm sees that you're making those bets, then they are less likely to flag you. So like I recommend doing like same game parlays just to keep them off your radar. Now it's not going to like FanDuel, DraftKings. I don't think you worry about them, but like the other sports books, like I think you have to, at least with PointsBet, you have to. I know that for sure. Nice. Bagley says for Kirk owners, it's nice that he has such a great matchup next week. So if he lays another dud, it's safe to drop him. That's it's true. If you can't produce some of those perfect conditions, he never will. That's a good point. Urban needs to go back to Florida. Yep, in some sort of fashion. John says it wasn't the jab. Teammates and coaches hated once. I heard that too. I don't know how true that is, but I have heard that like those reports.
I do. We also do know, in addition to that, that might be true, that the owner was pissed off at Wentz for not getting the jab.
That's true. Yeah.
And so there might have been other things, but I know that was a data point that was out there, and the political leanings of the owner and the quarterback apparently were not in the same direction.
Yeah, for sure. Stanley asking, do I think Jack Sawyer's a first round pick? I think probably second round, third round. I think maybe second round.
Jack or Sawyer, because I was a fan of both of them on the show.
Yeah, who's Kate gonna go with?
So. Oh, that was so good. And for any Lost fans out there, you're welcome.
That was good. And watch From. Did you finish season 2 of From?
The end of season 2 was fantastic.
It was.
Season 3 starts next week.
It does. I don't know if I want to watch it weekly or binge it at the end. I don't know. But yeah, if you guys liked Lost, watch From. It feels a lot like Lost, doesn't it? Like it feels like it.
Yep, very
It, it
similar.
it's darker. Now I don't think they only have 10 episodes per season, so I feel like they don't delve into the characters as much as Lost did, nearly as much as Lost did. And I felt like if they had like 24 episodes per season like Lost did, they could do much more of that. So I feel like that's like the one thing that's missing. But like the atmosphere and like the music and like it all feels like Lost. So it's something I recommend. I like that a lot. So thank you, Kenny, for recommending that to me. SGPs because cocaine doesn't hit the same anymore.
Oh, it's so good.
Nice. Cam the Ham says Mayfield, Mason, Henry, Mixon, Adams, Diggs, and Andrews is my starting lineup. Bench Goff, London, Pittman, Robinson. Which Robinson? I guess the Marcus Robinson and Bucky Irving should make any trades or stand pat.
If you can trade Henry, do it.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I think trade Henry high because he just scored 2 touchdowns. After this game, like he has a great matchup against Dallas. Maybe trade him after week 3. That's what I would recommend. CMC on IR. Okay, makes sense. Sue says, I know Walt's from his rankings, but can he pick 3 for this week? Ford, London, Jameson Williams, Shaheed, ESPN standard scoring. No PPR for me.
Yeah, well, because PPR is lame. So good, well done. I don't understand how the whole world has become PPR. I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe I'm a dummy. I don't know.
I think it's because DraftKings is PPR and they kind of like funneled everyone to it.
It's so lame. Anyway, okay, of those guys, so London, I mean, to me, James Williams at this point is a must start. If I've got 3 guys, because I mean, the Lions offense looks drastically different with him now. It's very odd. Like watching them play. They are not the same offense they were a year ago. I don't know if that bodes well for Amon-Ra St. Brown long term or not. But Williams is a must start for me. Ford is not a must start to me. I think I'd go London, Williams, Shaheed if I'm getting 3 or 4. Yeah. I think it was a 4. Maybe that's not right. Maybe Ford over Shaheed. I don't know. I feel like it's hard. But I feel like the Eagles are going to give up lots on the ground, and Shaheed probably won't get the same love as he's gotten the last couple weeks. So maybe it's Ford, London, Williams. Williams to me is a clear one. I think Drake London sucks, by the way. I know he scored this past week. Like I just think I watch him play. I'm just like, this guy's not good. He doesn't create the way. Like there's just a lot of luck. I think he's out of the league in 2 years. I think he sucks.
Wow, out of the league. I was about to say like. I don't think he's the number 1. I think he's a possession too.
He's like when restaurants bring specialty food in, and everyone's like, this sucks. Don't like this summer Chick-fil-A did this whole like specialty bacon sandwich that like was a flop. So then they brought back the honey pimento chicken sandwich, which by the way is the Hall of Fame of chicken sandwiches, in my opinion. It's fantastic. So it's like, no, they're never going to bring back that bacon stupid sandwich ever again. It was terrible. Drake London is that. He's like, it's popular for a summer, and then he'll be gone in 2 years.
Gone in 2 years. Wow.
Even the Lord's Chicken can't redeem that guy. Come on, get out of here.
All right, we'll see about that. I think he's going to stick around. I don't think he
sucks.
I don't think he's a 1. Like he's a 2. Like he's a number 2 starter in the NFL. I don't think he's gonna be out of the league. But I don't know. We'll see. Keith saying Hail Mary for this week: Akers, Foreman, or P. Ryan. I think it has to be Foreman. 14 carries last week. If Mixon is out and Pierce is out, then definitely Akers. But just make sure you just monitor the injury report. Luckily, it's a 1:00 game, so you'll be able to make that decision. What do you think?
Yeah, if Mixon is out, then I guess you go Akers. But I don't know that. P. Ryan is interesting. Like I don't know what to make of that team. Carson Steele's not good either. He's just like runs straight. He's got good bursts. He runs straight, runs into things, but like he has no elusiveness. So, like I can only imagine like Andy Reid getting sick of him at some point. Yeah. I don't know. No. So maybe I go Akers if Mixon is out. If Mixon's in, then I go P. Ryan maybe.
Edwards-Helaire might be back in a few weeks. So
Speaking of players that should be out of the league,
it's true. Stanley asked, do you think the Saints are overrated despite their statement win over Dallas? It's hard to say. I don't know what to make the Saints. I'm leaning toward no. I think the Kubiak hire was just did wonders for them, and the offensive line is playing so much better. Trevor Penning just like a miraculous turnaround for his career. Like he was a human turnstile last year. Like now he's actually blocking Parsons for some reason. Like I don't understand. Well, I will see. I don't know. They could easily regress and be as bad as I thought they were. Like that is possible. But I think that I was probably wrong about them, and they could be a good team. I don't know. I really don't know.
I was higher on this team going in. Their fantasy. I was higher on Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara than most people. I got Kamara in almost like every league that I'm in, every best ball, every like this is crazy how much I got Kamara everywhere, and I love it. And they're playing. Yeah, their offense is playing great. Their defense is playing good. So I don't think they're overrated. I do this. I have seen the Derek Carr movie before, and Derek Carr has avoided the terrible decision making through 2 games. Do I believe he will avoid terrible decision making for an entire season? Absolutely not. I would bet my house that at some point he's going to regress to being what we know he is, and that is a terrible, over aggressive. He thinks he's great. He thinks he's Tom Brady. He thinks he has a strong arm. Like he's really confident. I appreciate the confidence. But it's like, it's like me trying to, run a race Usain Bolt. Like I can beat Usain. I'm 250 pounds and, I'm winded when I go up the steps, but I can beat the fastest guy. No, you can't. Like Derek Carr thinks he's way better than he actually is. Eventually that will bite them in the butt.
You actually think you could beat Usain Bolt?
Of course I could. Of course. With a donut in hand.
Nice. Very good. PPR is more popular because the movement toward running back by committee, maybe running back being diminished is something to do with it. Stanley, hey, Walter, I think you should put Minnesota, New Orleans, Buffalo, and Seattle on your overrated teams list. I think Minnesota's done some great work this offseason. They're coached very well. Saints appear to be coached well. I think Buffalo is overrated right now just because that Miami win. I think they're a good team. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're a bad team, but that win over Miami, I think makes them overrated. So I would agree with that one. And I think Seattle could be on that list too. Although Seattle's another team, I just don't know what to make of because the new coaching staff, they barely beat the Patriots. But they have some good things going on with them. I don't know about them yet. Spicy or a regular chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A, always spicy for me.
Regular Monday through Thursday, spicy on the weekends.
Okay. Well, on the weekends you only get Friday and Saturday, unfortunately.
That's true. Friday, Saturday.
It's like heartbreaking when it's Sunday and you're feeling like Chick-fil-A and you're like, oh no, it's Sunday. Why is it closed? You should so I know. It should be like special Chick-fil-A places that are open Sunday. Like you can smuggle Chick-fil-A out of Chick-fil-A on Saturday night and sell it on Sunday. Derek Carr always performs well in election years. We heard this yesterday. His stats in election years is amazing. I don't know why.
Gosh, it's so good.
Yeah, just bought a chicken deluxe from my dad today. No spicy. I always get the deluxe. It's only like tomato and lettuce. I don't know why they call it deluxe. It's just
I don't like the deluxe. I don't want the tomato and it gets in the way. I don't want it.
I like the lettuce. I like the lettuce at least. Tomato I can do without. Lettuce, I think, makes it. Sue says, Kenny fired up for the return of Red Rifle.
Red Rifle. Am I excited about Andy Dalton playing this week? Is that what he's referring to?
Yeah.
No, I cannot tell you that I'm excited. Oh no, I take that back. I don't have any Deontay Johnson, which is really shocking because I love him so much as a player. I am excited to see Deontay Johnson with a quarterback that might actually be able to get on the ball. Bryce Young, wow, man, what a I don't think benching him at this point makes sense, but he is lost right now. I mean, absolutely lost. And I gotta wonder if Dalton is slightly better option for the fantasy, for their fantasy production of the receivers. But
yeah,
tough spot, man.
I'd have to think so. Bryce Young was so horrible. By the way, did you know that Bryce Young had the second highest depth of target number in week 1?
I did not.
It's crazy, isn't it? he threw horrible passes, but they were released downfield. Like he took shots downfield, and like a lot of them were intercepted. Anthony Richardson, by the way, is number one. There were teams that like where both quarterbacks, if you took their average depth of target and added them, it would be less than Richardson's in week one. That's crazy. But yeah, Bryce Young was number 2 in week 1, and then in week 2, Bryce Young threw nothing but checkdowns. So I guess he was scared to make mistakes. It reminds me of I said this yesterday when late Dwayne Haskins, he had like a 3 or 4 interception game or something, and then Ron Rivera was like, no more turnovers, and then the next game he threw all checkdowns, even on like 4th and 7, he threw like a 1-yard pass. Like he just was checked down crazy, and then that was Ron Rivera benched him. Like actually during the game, I think was it RG3 came in? I'm not sure. But someone came in at the end. I think RG3 was on the other side as a bench player for the Ravens. But no, someone came in for the Redskins, and then that was it for Haskins there. And it's funny that like Bryce Young did the exact same thing. He made mistakes by going deep and being aggressive week 1, and then he just settled for checkdowns, and then he got benched. And like he regressed. Like he was bad last year. Like he was horrible last year, but he at least like had some decent moments. Like he beat the Texans at home. He beat the Falcons at home. He almost beat the Saints. He almost beat the Packers. Like he was okay at times where like most of the time he was bad, but he was okay. And on some occasions, like through 2 games, this is the worst quarterbacking I've seen in a long time from anyone. Which is except maybe Tim Boyle last year. Tim Boyle was special, but Bryce Young is down there with Tim Boyle, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's I still don't think it makes sense to bench him right now. Like let him play through it and just I don't know. Like this seems like unless they know something we don't know, unless like we know like the confidence or something either off the field or the confidence is being shot. I don't know. It's wow. You know, I'd like. They gave up so much to get him. You just feel like you feel obligated to stick with him for a bit. Yeah. Although Caleb Williams has not impressed me through 2 games, I think he's pretty. He's a rookie, but he looks pretty mediocre or below average. I don't know. I'm old enough to remember when the Chicago Bears offense was going to be the best offense in the league because Caleb Williams is so amazing.
Yep.
Everyone's overdrafting these players on the Bears offense. I'm like. Okay, guys.
Well, they're 2-0 against the spread, so if they keep this up, they're always going to cover. No, Caleb Williams has been bad. In fairness, they played 2 tough defenses, so I think this week he could be better. I don't like the coaching staff in Chicago, though. I think they kind of suck. So you can at least say that, but like the Panthers brought in Dave Canales to revive Geno Smith's career, or Baker Mayfield's career. Like you'd think that he would do well with Bryce Young, but apparently not. Although I disagree that I think he should be benched. I actually wrote this on the site, and I referenced some other things, like similar things that happened. Like Drew Brees in his 2nd season as a starter was benched for Doug Flutie for like 3 games, and then we know what happened with him. Dante Culpepper was benched in 2003 for Todd Bauman from St. Cloud State, and then the next year he was awesome in 2004. McNabb was benched at one point. I feel like for Bryce Young, I think keeping him on the field is just going to like drain his confidence, and like he's going to be a shell of himself. And I think like taking a step back for like 3 or 4 games and just watching from the sideline and like learning, I think could be good for him, and then maybe he could come back in with like some new ideas, like a new approach to the game or something. So I think it was a good thing to bench him temporarily.
I hope so for his sake.
Yeah. Baggett says, I feel like Hubbard's going to have a one good game with Dalton on the center, and then the Panthers will collapse again. Would be a good time to sell high. Yeah, I think you can buy him low now. I think Hubbard could do well now with Dalton. I've gotten in some best balls for week 3 onward. You had to bench him or lose the locker room. I think so too. They had to replace Young because the fans are putting bags on the heads. I saw that. It was a sad state of affairs in Carolina. Cassandra says the Haskins lawsuit against the driver company manufacturer sure sounded like a bunch of BS to me. I'm not familiar with it, but I'll have to look into it. Andy Dalton is the air pressure test. The holes will appear if it isn't the quarterback. That's true. That's absolutely true. Who's looking good for rookie of the year between Caleb Williams, Malik Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison Jr.? Well, it's not Caleb Williams. can tell you that. I think right now Harrison is the leader right now with the 2 touchdowns that he had, but Neighbors is right behind him. You know, you have to think Harrison's going to have the best chance with Kyler Murray, but then Kyler Murray can go get injured, and then it's Desmond Ritter time. So
I wouldn't count out Jaden Daniels.
true. Yep. Yeah, I think you can be onto something there. Yeah, I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head. Brock Bowers, perhaps, but he's tight end. I don't think they're going to give it to him. But he was awesome last week. He was someone who bet the Raiders. I was very happy to see that game from him. Brian Thomas Jr. He hasn't had the stats yet, but he's like on like number 4 or 5 on the list, I think.
Yeah.
Joe Walt. They never give it to a tackle though. Joe Walt's been incredible through 2 weeks. It's true. Send him behind KC, fourth round pick trade, and see if he has something. I don't. What's that referring to? I'm not sure. KC 4th round pick trade. I don't know. You have to expound on that. Do you want to go through these games quickly with some thoughts here? So Bills Dolphins. I mean, Tua's gonna be out for a while, maybe the rest of the year. Like who knows? Just a rough situation.
Maybe forever.
Maybe forever. Yeah.
Tough, man.
It sucks. So what do you make of the Dolphins players? Like if you were to redraft right now, like where would you draft Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? Or like, and what do you think their outlook is going forward here without Tua?
Yeah, I think. Let me see. You know, obviously Tyreek Hill would not be a 1st round pick if we were, if we knew. But I still think he's he'll still be good. I mean, Tyreek Hill's a great player. I think I probably, is he a top 10 fantasy receiver rest of season? I think so. Like I still think he's top 10. I think I think Waddle takes the biggest hit. Let me see. I think Waddle is probably a wide receiver 3 from here on out. I just don't think the offense is going to be good enough to sustain a lot of fantasy options. In particular, if Devon Achane is going to be the main, kind of the main in the middle of the field receiver, he's going to get a lot of carries or a lot of receptions. It's going to be Tyreek Hill and Achane and pretty much it, right? Like that's so. Yeah, I think Tyreek Hill's still fine, but when the rest of the offense is not going to be as prolific, that hurts all the options, obviously.
Tyreek Hill in best ball drafts this week is going early 2nd round. Jalen Waddle is going about 6th round, which I could buy Hill. I think that's way too early for Waddle though.
Hill, I would rather Hill late 2nd. I could do
early
Hill.
2nd, going, but yeah.
Yeah, late 2nd would be okay. Late 2nd, early 3rd. I would not want to be drafting him in best ball rest of season for, high 2nd round pick feels too high. Waddle in the 6th probably feels fair.
Okay, interesting. I feel the opposite. I just wouldn't take Waddle there at all. Whereas like Hill, I mean Hill could produce with anyone. I think,
right.
Even Skylar Thompson, but they did sign Tyler Huntley to the practice squad, which I like him better than Skylar Thompson. You can't count out McCarthy as rookie of the year. He's tied with the league passing touchdowns among rookie quarterbacks. Yep, you're right. Gusco, my running backs are Hall, Kamara, ATN, Ford. My receivers are London, Rice, Neighbors, Godwin. Would you recommend me to trade ATN for Jackson Smith and Jigba and Flowers? I would do that. I know you would too, right? And then trade London and Ford for a good running back. Yeah, I think you'd make those moves.
Yes. Well, like who's going to make that? I mean, is that a trade already being offered?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
No.
Right. Trade Cook while you still can. Yeah, James Cook trade sell high. Do you think?
I would sell high. I think at this point.
Yeah. Bill's defense is Hill better than the Cops. It's definitely true. I was high on Khalil Shakir, and I was told you that you can't take a leading receiver on a bad team. I think it's gonna be a different receiver leading this team every week. Like it was Keon Coleman. It's Keon Coleman week 1, Shakir week 2. It might be Curtis Samuel week 3. I think it's gonna be someone that Kincaid's gonna go off at some point. How many touchdowns does Shakir have? Probably. You're asking. It was 0. Chandler is saying, Hold on. Chandler, I'm having a tough decision in my life this week, Carr or Purdy. I would think Carr, right? Well, the thing is, like, Purdy is going to have a huge lead in this game, and they're just going to run the ball second half against the Rams. So my thinking is, like, Carr might be in a shootout with the Eagles. So I would go Carr. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you can make an argument. I probably lean toward Carr in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the book on Skylar Thompson? Just hand off and check down. Well, he runs a decent amount. He had fewer passing touchdowns in college than starts, so not great. So yeah, I wouldn't expect much from him. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's going on, Diggs? Mike says Malik Willis is the same player as Lamar Jackson with fewer turnovers. I don't agree.
What?
Yeah, I don't agree. Although with less touch turnovers instead of like the fewer, I don't know if you like. I thought of the Stannis Baratheon fewer meme, which I love to post when people get that wrong. Eagles secondary is suspect. Go with Carr. It's very suspect. Their pass rush is suspect. What happened to the pass rush?
It's not the secondary. The secondary has actually been surprisingly very good in light of the zero pass rush. I mean, like, I'm not talking when I say zero, that's not hyperbole.
Yeah.
No pass rush whatsoever. Like, the best secondary in the world can't stay with receivers for 6-7 seconds. I mean, it's not possible. So there's no pass rush right now, and they seemingly have no solution for that. As an Eagles fan, it's painful to watch.
3 sacks through 2 games. Jalen Carter looks like he's on vacation still. Bryce Hoff not doing anything. It's pretty bad, but it could be corrected. They have talented guys. Eagles secondary, yeah, go with Carr. And then Saints are going to destroy the Eagles, especially without Brown. We'll see. I think they could win. They're favored. So, all right, next game we have Raiders beating the Ravens. So the big thing here was Brock Bowers and Devontae Adams in the second half. Adams had that great catch. Bowers was awesome. 9 catches for 98 yards on all 9 targets. This guy is a freak of nature. He should have gone much earlier in the draft. And I think it's because the Kyle Pitts thing, where like Pitts disappointed people, and people are like, "Oh, no more tight ends that high." But yeah, I mean, if you're some of these teams after the top 5 who passed on Bowers, you have to think that they're kind of kicking themselves right now. Yeah, he's going to be the next best tight end, I think. And if you're playing on like DraftKings or something, he is way too cheap right now. He's like in the 5,000s where he should be in the 6,000s. So I played him last week in my lineups. Henry, like you said, sell high, and Henry, I agree. Lamar Jackson's behind a terrible offensive line. Ronnie Stanley didn't practice on Wednesday, so that's a concern. Any takeaway from this game?
I'm concerned with the Baltimore Ravens. I think a lot of people are thinking they're 0-2, but they'll bounce back. I'm not so sure. This team's got some holes in some key spots. If you've got the opportunity to sell high, I think I might do it.
Okay. Eagles are a laughing stock. My condolences. Well, yeah, I mean, they aren't performing well right now, but they are a drop away from being 2-0. So there's that. And they beat the Packers, who were pretty good. So
laughing stock? You have a weird definition of laughing stock.
Yeah, like the Giants are a laughing stock. The Panthers are a laughing stock. Eagles are not. Stanley said, "Hey, Walter and Kenny, I think the Eagles made a huge mistake trading Reddick for Huff." It feels like both teams made a big mistake.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't trade Reddick for Huff. They signed Huff as a free agent, and then they traded Reddick.
Right. Yeah. Basically,
yeah. Trading Reddick clearly is not. Yeah, is obviously was a bad decision. And I would have paid him. I would have been glad to give him the money he wanted. It's not my money, so what do I know?
Right. Chargers beat the Panthers 26-3. J.K. Dobbins, this is one of your great calls. You were all over him, and I was too. We both had him as our top sleeper, and then I kind of fell off the Dobbins bandwagon because just looked in all the running backs who've had the Achilles injury, and there is legitimacy to that. Like, so many running backs' careers have been destroyed by the Achilles tears, but his is not. Clearly, like he looks great. 2 100-yard rushing games so far. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't continue. Although the one thing that bothers me is like Gus Edwards had more carries than him. I don't know if that's going to continue. Like at some point, the Chargers have to be like, maybe Gus Edwards sucks and we shouldn't give him the ball. Now maybe coming off the torn Achilles, Dobbins like, okay, maybe he can't handle the full workload yet. Like he can't get like 25 carries per game, so maybe that's why. But maybe in the second half of the season, they're going to give him more touches. So yeah, he looks fantastic. It's a great call on your part to go with Dobbins. Although I did get him in some best ball drafts because he was going like way too late. Quentin Johnson, we talked about him. Panthers should be better with Dalton, Deontay Johnson specifically. Don't go to Thielen; he's too old. Plus, like Thielen was the receiver one last year. Like now he's not clearly. So, any thoughts here?
Yeah, you were saying we were both on Dobbins early in the summer, and then you backed off because of the statistics around guys with Achilles. Dobbins does not look as explosive as he was 2 years ago. So like I would imagine maybe the injuries have affected him a little bit, but he was such a great player that even 80% of Dobbins, 80% of the 2022 Dobbins is still a really good player in 2024. And so I think you're right. I think it is a matter of time before Dobbins just kind of takes the lion's share of the carries. They're just kind of they're running him in and out even on the same drive. They just he'll be in for 2 or 3 plays and he comes off for a play or two. He comes back in. So the Carolina Panthers right now, I wonder if Deontay Johnson is going to be better with the red rifle. I wonder if that's some value. So if you're someone who plays DFS, maybe he's a value play. Or if you can buy him low in a season long league.
Herbert, by the way, missed practice Wednesday with an ankle. You have to wonder if that has to do with the plantar fascia. Saints, I have these logos in the wrong direction. Saints beat the Cowboys very handily. The Clint Kubiak offense looks amazing. They're running so well. They're using Shaheed as not just a receiving threat downfield. That's what he was last year and the year before. And like now they're actually using him in different like facets of the offense, and right. he's producing. So I don't think his production is fluky. I think that's here to stay. Although Olave hasn't really produced that well, I think he's a good buy low just because like the stats haven't been there yet, but they will be. Like there's no reason for that not to happen. The Dallas running back rotation is just a nightmare. They've not just Elliott and Doodle, but they also have Deuce Vaughn siphoning carries. So it's like. I guess I'd rather have Doodle than the other two, but it's pretty close with Elliott. It's just a situation you'd want to avoid. CD Lamb, by the way, missed practice Wednesday. Not really concerned about that. If he misses practice Thursday, then maybe you should start worrying. But right now, I think it's fine. Doodle, by the way, 4 catches, 29 receiving yards last week. So that's something. If they're going to use him as a receiver, PPR is looking a little bit better, but still it's not a great situation. So any thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I was on Zeke, you were on Rico. Remember we were talking about that. Obviously neither one has snailed out as great. I think I'm more bullish on Zeke. Zeke is the 30, he's the 33rd running back through 2 games, fantasy and standard scoring leagues. So that's RB3 territory. That's flex territory. I think that'll continue. That's my guesstimate. He does not look washed. He doesn't look great, but he doesn't look washed.
Artie, any prop bets for tomorrow's Patriots Jets games you guys like? I haven't fully looked into it. One thing I do know is that Demario Douglas, who didn't do anything last week, I heard Gerard Mayo talking about having to get him more involved in the offense. So I think that Douglas over receptions probably looks good. I also like Hunter Henry over receptions. Like he's getting so much of the passing game work. He's basically their number one receiver. The offensive line can't hold up, so they can't throw downfield. So they're throwing like intermediate passes to Henry. So I think that like his numbers I think are pretty legit. Slu says Zeke still has some zip. It looks better than Gus Edwards. Anyone looks better than Gus Edwards.
Not a very high standard.
Right. I think that done is actually Buccaneers 20, Lions 16. Don't be fooled by the score. The Lions outgained the Buccaneers by 240 yards. It was like 463 to like 214. Now the Lions had the ball for 83 plays, but that was like Tampa only converted 2 first downs. It was Detroit. Detroit went to I think the stat was like they went to the Tampa 27 or farther 7 times in this game. And they came away with like 9 points on those drives. They just like screwed up in the red zone so much. They just shot themselves in the foot way too many times. They'll bounce back. I think they were distracted coming off the Rams win in overtime against their former quarterback, playoff revenge. So they were not fully focused here. I expect a much better effort from them. Jameson Williams has been great through 2 weeks. I expect that to continue. St. Brown, 11 for 119. Didn't score, but was still awesome. Expect him to continue to be great. Sam Laporta has been the huge disappointment so far. 2 catches, 13 yards last week. I got to think he's going to rebound. He's just way too talented not to. And it could be the squeaky wheel this week, whereas like in week 1, St. Brown did nothing. And then look what he did week 2. Laporta could be the squeaky wheel this week. So I think he's still a good play. With the Buccaneers, Chris Godwin is the primary receiver, basically. He's taking the Cooper Kupp role in Liam Cohen's offense, whereas like last year was all Mike Evans. This year, Godwin is getting most of the targets. And I like this week against Denver, Mike Evans is going against Patrick Surtain. So I think you want to target Godwin again. Tampa running game sucks, by the way. It doesn't matter who's running. Any thoughts here?
No, I mean Evans has been great. I mean, they've been great. Evans is the 19th, I think, overall receiver. Godwin's the number 2 in standard scoring, so obviously great. If you're a DFS player, I think there's value there. The 2 things you said that I'm not sure I agree with. One, Bucky Irving is getting about 40% of the carries. It's about a 60-40 split in favor of Rachaad White, but Irving clearly is better. He's quicker. I think he's a better player. It would not surprise me at some point in the next few weeks if Bucky Irving kind of becomes the primary guy, and I actually think he could be productive. And so I think he's an interesting guy to stash, to consider stashing. He's the 37th best running back through the first 2 weeks, and I think it would not surprise me if we look up at the end of the season and he has like RB2 numbers. I kind of like him a lot, actually. So I would encourage people to stash him. The other thing you said, I'm not sure I agree with you, saying Sam Laporta bouncing back. Like, he's clearly very talented, but the Lions offense looks very different than it did a year ago. And I think Jameson Williams is the reason for that. Their offense a year ago was pretty much Laporta and their passing game was Amon-Ra and Laporta. And they moved them around a lot. Laporta, they split him out a lot. He was in the slot. He's not even a tight end. They call him a tight end. Is like he's basically a receiver. That's what he was last year. And there was a lot of crossing routes. Their whole system was based to get those 2 guys open in the middle of the field, and Goff was really great at hitting them. And even when Amon-Ra St. Brown is, he could be like triple covered. The guy catches everything. I mean, like I really was down on him when he came into the league. I did not think he could survive, and I was wrong. 2 years ago, I thought he'd be out of the league by now. So what does that say about my Drake London prediction? But their offense looks very different this year. Their offense looks like their offense the last 2 years was a very weird, non-traditional structure. This year, they look like a more traditional NFL offense. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is like a traditional slot receiver. They occasionally move to the outside. And Laporta is like a real tight end now. He's actually staying in and blocking, and he's running intermediate routes, but he's the second read on the intermediate routes. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the first read on all those routes. So I actually think there's not enough balls to go around here. I think Gibbs gets a lot out of the backfield, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and as long as Williams is playing good, I think Laporta is going to be a massive bust. If you could trade him and get any value for him right now, I think he's the guy to trade, because this offense looks like a real offense, which I think is good for them. I think they makes them a more legitimate Super Bowl contender, with the way they're currently playing. And so, obviously, with Jared Goff at the helm, there's always a question mark. But I think this team is better than they were. I think their offense is better than it was a year ago, and I think that's probably not good for Laporta.
Well, I wouldn't trade him now. I think wait until if you do want to trade him, wait until he has a great game, because he will have some great games. Wait until that happens, then maybe trade him. But I do think that bounce back is going to happen eventually. Like he's not going to have like all bad games. Like even the crappy tight ends have great games. Look at Mike Gesicki, for example. Like it does happen. I will push back on the Tampa running game. Like I feel like their offensive line just sucks at run blocking. They just can't open up running lanes. So I don't like. I do agree that Irving is better than White as runner, but I don't think I don't think it'll matter as like far as like great production is concerned. Like I don't think Irving, if he steps in as a starter running back, I don't think he's going to be getting RB2 numbers or anything.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I mean, I like what I see from him, even with this. As you're right, the Tampa running game, the offensive line's not been great, but I watch these two teams play and go, watch these two guys play. Like White gets hit in the backfield and does nothing with it. Irving gets hit in the backfield and kind of can shimmy out of it and seems to be smarter, knows kind of where to sit. Like, I think their offensive line looks worse than they are because Rachaad White's getting 60% of the carries. Like, if it was flipped 60-40 in Irving's way, I think their line would look a little better because, like, he hits the hole a little better. And so, yeah, I think, I mean, again, I'm not saying go out and, trade a bunch for him at all. Like, but I like him a little bit.
$4.99 super chat from Griffin Stewart. Thank you.
Griff.
Thank you, Griffin. Thank you. Really appreciate it. 12-man Hurts, Nico, Devontae Smith, Kyron, Bijan Andrews, Amari. That sounds like a great team to me. Should I trade Hurts and Smith for CJ and Marvin? And what do you think? What do you think makes my team better?
CJ Stroud and Marvin Harrison Jr. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I assume so. Again, this is it's quarterback plus receiver for quarterback plus receiver. I mean, right now Smith looks great, but that's because AJ Brown's back. So like AJ Brown's not gonna be out for too long. And so maybe this is a chance to upgrade Devontae Smith to Marvin Harrison Jr. And but like you do get a downgrade from Hurts to CJ Stroud, although it's not like that much of a downgrade. So I do think that with CJ Stroud and Marvin, I think you get some more especially with Marvin, you get some more upside because like once Brown comes back, Smith's not going to be as productive.
I totally
you also
agree.
have to worry about injuries with Hurts too because he's gotten banged up
every year.
Yeah, so
he's never made it through a season fully healthy, even though he hasn't always missed games. But I think CJ and Hurts going forward is a wash. I think they're really close. And I think Harrison will clearly be better production than Smith. I would make that trade if that was on the table.
Okay. It's close. It's very close. But I think I would make that trade too. So thanks, Griffin. I hope we answered your question well. And I really appreciate the 49 super chat. Thank you so much. Ayuk for Godwin. I think Ayuk's going to go nuts in the succeeding weeks because Debo's out and McCaffrey is out. So I would keep Ayuk, although I love both. Did you see 4th down Dan execute a fake punt inside his own 10? That was pretty wild. It worked, but very dangerous. It still lost though. Likely Ertz. Likely, I guess. I don't know. It's what happened. Likely.
Yeah.
Likely. I did some best ball drafts for week 2 onward. Likely was going 4th round. Which is pretty wild. Coward has Chargers as 3rd best team in the league. He also has the Bucks, Seahawks, and Saints ahead of the 49ers. Do you agree, or should he be checked into a mental institution? I like putting those teams ahead of the Niners is pretty insane, especially the Buccaneers and Seahawks. Maybe you could argue the Saints thing is real, but I still wouldn't put them ahead of the Niners. That's crazy.
I mean, the Niners. I mean, the Niners without McCaffrey and Debo for a long stretch of time. Like, I don't know that I love that team. I guess it depends on how you're measuring it. Like, you're measuring them right now without those players. That's different than or is he like measuring them like what they will be by the end of the year?
It's always the challenge with power rankings, which I do every week. It's you have to like a fine balance between the two. Vikings out of the 49ers too. Yeah, he just what he's doing is it's not power rankings. He's just going to NFL.com/standings and he's looking at the records. It's kind of stupid just rank teams based on record. I think that the quote that Bill Parcells said once, "You are what your record is." I think that is such a huge fallacy that people fall into that trap, and it's so great to to kind of capitalize that of just betting on overrated teams or betting against overrated teams or betting on underrated teams just based on what the record is. For example, 2 years ago with Minnesota, they were 13-4. That was not a 13-4 team. They were more 10-7 ish, maybe 9-8. They were outscored during the regular season. So that 13-4 was such a farce, and you could bet against them very easily late in the year, like against the Colts, for example. They almost lost, and then the Giants they almost lost, and then they lost the Giants in the playoffs. Like that, you just look for great opportunities like that to fade teams with records that aren't indicative of how good they are. So if you just if like a simple-minded person like Howard is ranking teams based on record, like that's just a big mistake. Does it just mean that George Kittle has regressed? I thought Kittle looked good. Like with the stats, his stats might be misleading because he blocks so much. But he's one of the best blockers in the NFL. So
I mean, it's standard league scoring. He's the second highest tight end right now. So
I think Kittle is going to be great going forward too. Baggins says Parcells is correct in the long term, but to rank teams solely by the record after 2 weeks is asinine. Yeah, especially after 2 weeks. But there are many examples of teams being overrated because the record is so good. Parcells wouldn't have thrown the ball to Barkley. He would have handed the ball to Barkley and watched the clock tick, tick, tick. Yep. Although, I mean, that was quite the roller coaster ride because that Eagles minus 5.5. So they kicked the field goal. I was so happy Barkley dropped the ball because they're going to kick the field goal. And then they kicked the field goal. I was happy they're up by 6. And then of course that
disaster.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Moving forward, we talked about Browns Jaguars a little bit with the Browns running game. And we also discussed Trevor Lawrence. I feel like we can pass on this one. We talked about ETN too. We talked about all these players. Vikings 23, 49ers 17. Sam Darnold looks legit with Kevin O'Connell and plus a great offensive line blocking for him. Justin Jefferson, amazing as always. Jordan Addison should be back this week. I thought this Ty Chandler thing was interesting. He had 10 carries, 82 yards. Aaron Jones, 9 carries, 32 yards. But Jones is on the field 61% of snaps, Chandler for 35% of snaps. So I think that's misleading. And I talked about the Niners. Try to get Ayuk or Kittle. They are going to go insane without Devo and McCaffrey playing. Also, Juwan Jennings, I think, could be a good pickup. I picked them up in one of my leagues. So any thoughts here?
Yeah, I love Juwan Jennings this week. I have him in one of my leagues. I have him in our league, actually. So you'll be going – he'll probably be in my starting lineup, and you'll be going against him this week. So that'll be great.
All right.
Until McCaffrey's back, Mason's the number one running back in the league right now in my mind. Like he's if I don't do weekly ranks, if I did, he'd be number one for me. He's obviously not nearly as talented as McCaffrey, but he is much better than I thought, and the system is just fantastic. So, I think you can't go wrong there. By the way, Sam Darnold looks like a real NFL quarterback. Like he doesn't look amazing, but just because to show, like sometimes guys they take a while to develop, or they just been in really terrible situations. And Darnold's been in some bad situations. He's not an amazing player, but he looks significantly better. I don't have any contacts. I'm not like you and Charlie Campbell, but I do have one. I do have one contact in the Vikings organization, and he said he's like in the building. Most of they're surprised on how good Darnold is. None of them expected Darnold to play this well. So, they had low expectations for Darnold.
Yeah, Darnold started out hot in Carolina too. I mean, he looks great right now. So we've had Geno Smith revive his career in Seattle, former Jets quarterback bust. Sam Darnold, former Jets quarterback bust, revives his career in Minnesota. Do the Broncos bench Bo Nix and go with Zach Wilson? Do they continue this trend?
See what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
I mean, of those guys, Zach Wilson is clearly the most talented of them. He's more talented than Sam Darnold and Geno Smith.
No, he was drafted higher than both of them. Slightly higher than.
I mean, Zach Wilson has a rocket arm, right? I mean, that guy can throw the ball,
Yeah, just he's nothing up here. Like he doesn't see the field well. But if he's coached up and Sean Payton's there, maybe. Seahawks beat the Patriots in overtime. Looked like the Seattle passing game was awesome here. The Patriots couldn't do anything with them. Metcalf went insane. Got, like I said before, got him in the 4th round of best balls last week, which is crazy in a 3-receiver format. with PPR. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 16 targets, 12 catches, 117. This guy's gonna be awesome. Locke is kind of phased out, although he had a heroic moment in overtime because he drew a pass interference. Still, I was way down on Lockett. I think 31-year-old with who uses his speed. I feel like is just a kind of a trap. Plus, he has two guys ahead of him. Charbonnet just like does nothing. Like it feels like he's so mediocre. I think he's a good receiver out of the backfield, but as a runner, it just isn't there. Kenneth Walker should probably be out again. So you could play Charbonnet in PPR, but not crazy about it. Talk about Stevenson. He looks like he has a good matchup, but Patriots offensive line is kind of in shambles right now, like more so than we thought. And Hunter Henry, I think, is going to be not he's not going to have 8 for 109 every week, but I think he could be like a steady 5-catch guy every week or most weeks. He's their number one receiver basically because they have nothing at receiver. So any thoughts here?
Did you say? I'm surprised you said a Charbonnet. I actually really like Charbonnet. I think he's a really good player. If Walker's out, I'm easily putting Charbonnet in my lineup as I think he's an RB2 this week if in standard and PPR leagues. If Walker's out, I guess I'm surprised you say that. They're stylistically they're very similar players. I think talent wise they're very similar. Walker's slightly better on the ground. Charbonnet's slightly better getting passes out of the backfield, but I think they're kind of analog players. They're really similar style from each other. So I guess I'm surprised you say you would not start Charbonnet in a standard league.
No. I said I'd be fine with Charbonnet. I just don't think he's a good runner. I don't think he's a good running back. Like he's a good receiver out of the backfield. I just don't think he's a good player.
I think he's what really. I guess I
don't like him. I didn't like him coming out of college. I didn't like him at all.
I mean, he's almost identical to Walker. I mean, he's like I think that was the thing that was odd to me when they drafted him is because he was such a similar. Not when he drafted him. When I watched him play as a rookie, they're just such similar players. They're strikingly similar to me when you watch him play. I actually, if without the numbers, I kind of forget that like they look so similar to me. I'm like, is that Walker? Oh, it's Charbonnet. Is that like I kind of forget who's who when I'm watching them.
I don't feel the same way. I just don't like him at all. Like I said, Douglas, Gerald Mayo said he's going to try to involve him. So he had no catches. So I think that he could be a good over guy, assuming his numbers are low, coming off a 0 catch performance. So not that I would play him in fantasy, but in the DraftKings showdown, he's going to be cheap. So you can target him. But yeah, other than that, not much else to say here, I guess. Move on. Jets beat the Titans 24-17. This is painful because I'm huge bet on the Titans. Of course, Will Levis screws it up again. That stupid backward shovel pass, guy's a disaster. The rest of the team is good. Like they run well, they run block well. They have Calvin Ridley is making good plays. Defense is in the top 10 of EPA. If you replace Will Levis with just a mediocre quarterback, this team's 2-0 right now. And it just really sucks that he's just weighing them down. I would go to Mason Rudolph. Not that he's great, but at least he's not going to make stupid mistakes. Spears is banged up. He did not practice Wednesday, so it could all be Pollard's workload against Green Bay's bad run defense this week. So I like Pollard quite a bit this week. Hall's awesome. It's all Hall and Wilson, right? And then sometimes Lazard. Lazard had a tough matchup last week. He could rebound. Not that Lazard's a good player, but Aaron Rodgers just loves throwing to him. So you could maybe play Lazard if you're desperate at receiver. Not that I'd want to, but you can do it against the Patriots, who couldn't stop the pass at all last week. So any thoughts here?
I wouldn't start. I wouldn't be starting Lazard no matter what. I don't trust it. Yeah. He's terrible, and there's just kind of lucky. I'm not sure what to make of the Jets offense right now. They're kind of all over the place. They go long stretches with no movement of the ball whatsoever. Yeah. So was it who they playing week 1? Was it the Niners they played week 1?
It's two tough matchups though. Niners defense, Titans defense, both top 10. So this week they get the Patriots, who are softer defensively. I think that they could rebound a little bit.
I mean, it's probably fair. Yeah, Breece Hall obviously is awesome, but I think he's being held back a little bit by the offense. I think he could be way better, which is a bummer. And the rest of the offense, I don't trust anything on the offense right now. Garrett Wilson, who I loved, just doesn't look right. Him and Rodgers don't look the same. Obviously, if you have him a season long, you're good. I mean, if you drafted Garrett Wilson, you got to start him. I mean, if you drafted him, you probably spent a first or second round pick on him. So it's not like you can afford to sit him. But it doesn't look right. And and until it looks right, it's hard to trust.
Yeah. Locke is a smart player. That he is too. Of course, Njigba goes crazy the week after a bet is over. Right? Exactly. That's how it goes. Charbonnet drafted way too high. I didn't like him coming out of college. I don't think Charbonnet has the vision or the wiggle of Walker. Yeah, I think Walker is just a better pure runner. I mean, we can talk about that later. Santa says, "Hey, Walter Kenny, who do you have as the top receiver in this draft?" Because I have Missouri receiver Luther Burden, Texas receiver Isaiah Bond. We have McMillan from Arizona as the top receiver right now, but it's all fluid. A lot can change. Titans 2 punt blocks in 2 weeks, just awful. Yeah, it's like this team is just so stupid. Like they look great at times. They're up 17-0 against the Bears. They're up most of the game against the Jets, and they just find a way to screw it up. It's horrible. It's Paul Hackett offense. That's true. Titans to win the AFC South at 15-1 might be an interesting play. Well, they have to get by Houston, which is the big issue. Houston looks like a juggernaut right now. Even though they only beat.
If you hate your money and you want to give it away, I mean, I told you. I mean, I hate my money too. I often give it away. So
you know what this bet is? This bet is will CJ Stroud get injured at 15-1? Because if he's injured, then Titans look good, right? But you need Stroud to go down. That's the issue. John says Jets offense pass protection has been very good. Yeah, it's true. Which was the main concern of Rodgers coming back from the Achilles. Yeah, offensive lines play well for the Jets for sure, and they're going to have easier matchups. So I think you're going to see this offense kind of take off. Redskins Giants 21-18. The Giants didn't have their kicker, of course. I bet them. It's like such a disaster, man. They had like such a bad beat because they missed out on 3 points and extra points. They went for it twice. They missed both times, missed an extra point. Then they had a chance for a chip shot field goal. They didn't hit it. They didn't go for it. They went for it on a 4th down. Malik Neighbors drops the ball. The one bad thing he did all game. He was awesome otherwise. But of course they drop it, and then Janie Daniels runs the ball down the field past to Noah Brown, and then he runs for the game-winning field goal. He completed all but 6 passes, but it was all mostly checkdowns because Cliff Kingsbury sucks. It's like all runs and short passes and sacks. Like he took 5 sacks in this game. Okay. Brian Robinson, though, was awesome. 133 yards and 17 carries is another great call on your part. You love Brian Robinson. I remember that. Zach Ertz looks rejuvenated, which is cool to see. McLaurin, so only 22 receiving yards, but he saw 8 targets, 6 catches. So maybe he's going to be a better PPR guy, considering Cliff Kingsbury's offense. So what do you any thoughts here?
The Jaden Daniels thing is interesting because, with a lot of rookie quarterbacks, often it's this dumbed down offense. Mm-hmm. And it's like, one quick read and then, just run or dump it off. That's not what's going on here, though, with the offense. Like the offense actually, he's dropping back. He's getting full reads. When you watch him, he drops back. He's scanning the whole field. And then he's dumping it off or he's taking off. But that just shows me that they're actually giving him the opportunity to make the reads. And maybe he's just not confident yet to throw the ball down the field. So, honestly, like the Eagles don't do that with Hurts all the time. There are moments, and Hurts is now in year 5 or whatever, and there are moments where the offensive staff clearly doesn't trust him to make the right decision, which I think is telling. But there are moments where they don't have that. Like, it's like there are no reins here on Daniels, which I think that speaks well of like what they think of him, which means the bigger plays will come. So McLaurin right now looks like okay, what the stat line doesn't look good, but I actually wonder if he's a value play. Maybe 5 or 6 weeks from now, Daniels is pushing the ball down the field a little more. He's a little more confident, and then a guy like McLaurin looks more valuable. So I think Daniels looks really good. Daniels looks like a better prospect right now than Caleb Williams through 2 games. Now, I don't watch college football, so I don't know. Obviously, Williams, is supposedly this great talent. Through 2 games, is all I've watched. Through 2 games, Daniels looks like a better quarterback.
Yeah, he does for sure. I do think McLaurin's a good buy low. I've got him in some best balls for this week. Noah Brown could be a thing. Like he could be their number 2 receiver. Like he did have some good moments in Houston. So, so that's something to consider. By the way, only 4 Giants players caught passes. So Jones like targeting neighbors nonstop. It's all neighbors all the time.
Okay. Question on Austin Eckler. What's the read? What do you do with Austin Eckler if you own Austin Eckler?
In standard, probably get rid of him. Or if you want to hold on to him just in case Robinson goes down, then he looks good. So like I'm not gonna like die to like drop him. But if I need the roster spot, I think I'm fine with getting rid of him. Now, if
He's
it's
got
PPR,
10 carries through 2 games.
right, right.
I mean,
So like, yeah, it would. Robinson is the guy there. Like Robinson is Kingsbury's new James Conner. Where he would get all the workload. So I mean, if Robinson gets hurt, Eckler's going to look great because they don't really have anything else there, and he's the next man up, and he's already getting the receptions. If you're in PPR, it's a different story. Eckler is fine playing PPR. Because in this game, that's about 11 points, which is okay for your flex or something, or maybe he's just like he's like a top backup for you at the moment in PPR. But like in standard, it's going to be tough to roster this guy. I think especially once the bye weeks come around, you need guys to plug in.
Yeah, even in PPR, he's got 7 catches or 99 yards through 2 games and no touchdowns. Like, that's fine, I guess. But
yeah, he's just okay. Yeah, he's just okay. And you're going to need Robinson to get hurt. Packers, Colts. The Packers, if you look at the Colts numbers, they look horrible. Richardson, 204 yards. Taylor, I guess that's not bad, but like no one else really did anything outside of Pierce. But the Colts had the ball 19 minutes in this game. The Packers had the ball for 41 minutes. They just ran the ball down the Colts' throat. Josh Jacobs, 151 yards, 32 carries. He fumbled into the end zone, which drove me crazy because the Packers were my top bet of the week. And they were up 10-0. They could have been up 17-0. And plus, I had Jacobs in like all my DFS lineups. I was like, come on, no. I was like yelling at the TV, but he still had a great game. Jacobs is awesome. We were both on that. I thought he was going way too late in drafts, and he looks great. He looks great right now. Malik Willis, the stat line looks good, but he didn't have to do anything. The Packers just ran the ball. Next week's going to be a lot different. They play Tennessee. So Willis is actually going to be asked to do something. So I think he could struggle. Although Jordan Love practiced today, on limited basis. So I don't think he's going to come back this week, but it seems like Love might be able to come back week 4 or definitely week 5. So we're not going to see Willis for too long. So any thoughts here?
Willis sucks. And yet the Packers weathered a storm. Like, they played decent. Like, the offense was decent. They would run. Josh Jacobs is amazing. And, I think Christian Watson, like, I'm realizing this guy sucks. Like, I was really on him. He's like, of all the guys in that team, I was like, oh, Watson's clearly like, no, like both Reed and Wicks are clearly better than Watson. And I think like Jordan Love and Watson seem to have a little bit of a rapport week 1, but I think Reed and Wicks are both like good plays long term.
I love Jaden Reed. I think Watson can be good with Love. I think he needs Love to be productive. Now, maybe that means you're right in saying that he's not that good of a player, but they just have some sort of chemistry, and he can make deep catches and stuff. So
don't we all need a little bit of Love to be productive?
Yeah, you're totally right about that. So Giants first team to score 3 touchdowns, give up 0, and lose. How many historical things have we had? So we had week 1 Titans double the yardage against the Bears. They became the first team to lose, having a 17-point lead or more, and not giving up a touchdown. And they lost. It was the first team ever. And then this is the first thing that's ever happened to us too. That's 8 combined units. We also had 5 units on the Titans. Feels like we've had such bad luck this year. Like the only game that went our way was Lions covering in overtime against the Rams, but that was not a big bet. That was only 2 units. So it feels like we've gotten like the shaft here through 2 weeks plus preseason because I don't know if you remember this, but against the Ravens, the Ravens had the ball. It looked like it was going to be a tie, and they fumbled the ball, and then the Eagles kicked the game-winning field goal. I had Ravens plus 2.5, and the Eagles kicked the game-winning field goal to win by 3, and that was our pick of the month. So we've had like such bad luck with our picks this year so far.
They're bad beats, as Scott Van Pelt would say.
I think if this continues, I'm going to write a book called "You're the Bad Beat" because right now it's like historically just unprecedented for us. Stanley asked, do you think the Giants are experiencing the Tom Coughlin curse since they, after they forced him out, they became a losing franchise? Kenny, do you have anything to say about this?
I think this is fantastic. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, this is a blessing. The Tom Coughlin blessing. I love the state of the Giants. It's fantastic.
Redskins won 7 field goals. Week before, Steelers won with 6 field goals. These little guys coming on the field kicking 50-plus yard field goals like their chip shot is taken away from the game. IMO. Yeah, it's winning on field goals is not like very exciting. I kind of agree with that. So I don't know what you do about it though.
Yeah, I actually had a thought because kicking is, I mean, it's gotten so good over the last 10, 20 years.
Yes.
Is remarkable. I actually had this thought a couple days ago. I would consider pushing the field goal uprights back, like behind the end zone.
Yeah. What if
I'd make it harder.
What if it's like mini golf and like sways back and forth?
It's like, you push it back, like you push it back 5 yards behind, so it's that extra 5 yards. But there's a lot of kicks that would not be good, from 5 yards further back.
Make the uprights more narrow. Yeah, maybe or like have it like soccer. Be like, I don't even like soccer, John, but you have like a goalie for your kickoff. Like put a jetpack on someone and like try to make them block the kick.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Banned over 50-yard field goal.
Make them go for it. It would be more exciting. Camden says, would you trade Stevenson and Cooper / Waddle for Garrett Wilson and Zamir White? I don't want Zamir White. Kenny was right about that too.
Terrible.
He is bad. I would not. I think Amari Cooper is a great buy low. Like he's had the Browns offense has not had their tackles yet. And they will. Jack Conklin practiced fully today. So Cooper is due for a bounce back. He's too good not to bounce back. I would rather have Stevenson and Cooper than those guys. I like Wilson though, but still.
Obviously Wilson's a great talent. Love him. But until the Jets offense looks good, and maybe as you said, maybe this week they'll look good. But softer defense. But until they look right, I have a tough time putting any stock in giving up any resources to get Wilson right now.
Yeah. Cardinals destroyed the Rams. The Rams not only lost, but they seemed like half the roster got injured. Cooper Kupp out for an extended period of time, joining Nakua. So let's talk about the Rams receivers. I suppose Jordan Whittington, I think, should be under consideration, even though he's like third in the pecking order. Like Demarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson are ahead of him on the depth chart theoretically. But Jordan Whittington is someone I talked about in the preseason. I thought he looked phenomenal. He could. I was asked. John repeatedly asked me who's this year's Puka Nacua. I think it could be Jordan Whittington potentially. So not much else to say about the Rams. They have severe offensive line issues. Whereas the Cardinals look great. They're running a lot of 3 tight end sets. Harrison, it looked explosive. He looked like he had chemistry with Murray. So it's funny how much of a difference 1 week can make. Connor looks terrific. So what are your thoughts here?
James Conner looks better than he ever had. Like, it's weird.
Yep, it is.
Yeah. Like, what is he in year 6 now, or what year is he? Year 7?
I don't know. Yeah, something like that. I don't know, but yeah, he's been around for a while.
He's playing the best football of his career, which, I'd feel very confident if I had James Conner. I don't have him on any roster, but I'd feel confident in him. The Rams are a dumpster fire right now. And of those receivers, I don't know. I mean, as you said, Robinson seems to be the first man up, but I don't know Whittington. I don't know anything about him. I don't watch preseason. I haven't watched preseason since 1999. You, on the other hand, are watching every snap. So I'll trust your opinion over others on that. I want no part of that offense right now. They're a disaster.
Yeah. Thinking like best ball terms where you draft Jordan Whittington 17th round. That's what I'm trying to do. By the way, a player I'm targeting a lot is Jamal Williams, just because the Saints are running so well, and Kamara has missed time every single year. So I feel like Jamal Williams, like 3 or 4 games this year, is just going to go insane with the improved blocking and the new offense. So it's someone I'm targeting late. I got to get these logos in order. Chiefs beat the Bengals 26-25, playing with their food. As I heard that metaphor for the Chiefs, they're like a cat playing with their food early in the season. like not really taking things seriously, but still winning. So Rashi Rice just looks great. Xavier Worthy predictably goes back down to earth. Like he scored 2 touchdowns, but only touched the ball 3 times in week 1. So he's a predictable regression guy. Travis Kelce, we talked about this yesterday. He looks like checked out right now. It doesn't look like he's trying very hard. And one of Charlie's sources told me, this is after we drafted, unfortunately, so we didn't have this info. But one of Charlie's sources told me that like he was at Chiefs practice for a few days and during training camp, and like Kelce just looked like he was coasting the whole time. Like, he looked like he was not interested at all. And so it's not a surprise to see him struggle so far. I think that this is gonna continue until the playoffs, and maybe he goes nuts again in the playoffs. But right now, I want no part of Kelce, so I think that you can maybe trade him. Pacheco being out means, I guess it's Carson Steele. You're talking about maybe some Samaje Perine. Clyde Edwards-Helaire returns soon. This might be like a Dallas situation where you don't want any of these running backs because they all cancel each other out. With the Bengals, Burrow looks healthy again after a bad week 1. They were doubling teaming Chase on like every possession or every snap almost. So I think he's going to bounce back, especially with Higgins coming back soon. So they won't be able to double team him that much or aggressively anymore. And then Jim Nance pointed out, Eric All, he was talking about how impressed the Bengals were with him. He's a rookie tight end, and they want to get him more involved in the offense. So if you need a tight end, and there's like if you're in a deep league and need a tight end, maybe consider Eric All. He had 4 catches, 32 yards. So I think he might be someone who could be more productive as the season goes on. So any thoughts here?
Yeah, I think Burrow looked terrible week 1. But yeah, I think he's fine. I think this Bengals team is just dysfunctional. And I'm not sure if it's the offense or if the offensive line or if it's Jamar Chase and the relationship. I don't know what it is. They don't look right through 2 games. And you could argue that they should have won this game or whatever. But like, at the end of the day, they don't look right. Something's off. Obviously, if you have Jamar Chase, you're going to play him. You're not sitting him, but something's off with this team, and I can't fully get it. When it comes to the Chiefs, I think you're totally right. Like, I think for them, it's all about the playoffs and winning a Super Bowl. Like they want to be the first team to win 3 championships. They're totally like going to be in cruise mode. We saw this with the Patriots a little bit during their run with Tom Brady, where we would see the team would be a little bit kind of, checked out, and then would turn it on late in the year. And, it seemed like there were multiple years where like the Patriots started 2-2 or 3-2. And then the end of the year that you look up, they had 12 or 13 wins. And it's just like, that's just normal. And so I think it's just hard. Like, you're human beings. It's hard to stay focused to be intent. Like, it's just, and I think it's easy to just, but yeah, you're dating T Swift and you're doing whatever, you're doing a podcast and you're like, yeah, like it makes total sense why this guy's not totally involved or totally, mentally in the game. And if you drafted him, I think that was a mistake. I mean, again, drafting a tight end before round 10 is usually a mistake. So, yeah, I think if you drafted him, you're not going to be happy. But I think exactly what happened last year will happen again, where he'll just kind of be okay, and then late in the year and in the playoffs, he'll turn it up, and they'll be the Super Bowl favorite again.
Yep, I totally agree. Last of the 4:00 games, the Steelers beat the Broncos 13-6. Pickens had a great game, but his stats sucked. 2 for 29. He made an awesome catch. Actually, I think he caught a touchdown too. That was called back. So his stats could have been much better than 2 for 29 says. Harris getting more carries than Warren. Warren's still coming back from the injury, so yeah. I expect that to kind of balance out. Justin Fields has been a disappointment as a fantasy quarterback. He just hasn't run for too much. He has no rushing touchdowns either, so that's part of it. Now he's going to keep starting, and so like he runs enough to be viable, but like he's not a great option, at least not yet. And I don't trust the coaching staff there, the offensive coaching staff, as we've with Arthur Smith. Just we've been down that road a lot. Bo Nix, he just doesn't look good right now. I didn't think he was the first round quarterback. So far, like I'm correct on that. At least we'll see. Maybe he'll improve. Cortland Sutton, we called this one, right? Cortland Sutton, just predictable regression. 1 for 26, just looks awful. Dulcich dropping everything in sight. He dropped like 3 passes in this game. The only guy you want here, I guess, is Jamal Williams, just because he's getting like such big volume, like 16 touches. But
Jamal Williams plays for the
Jamal
Broncos
Williams,
now.
Javonte Williams, same difference really. They're both not that good. No, Javonte Williams, 16 touches. He's the guy if you want. But I don't know if you actually do want anyone. So any thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you're gonna put a gun on my head and force me to play one of these Broncos players, then yes, I guess it's Javonte Williams. But yeah, you don't love it. I will say for Justin Fields, while the stats are not there, like he's not a great fantasy option, in real life, like this is some of the best football he's playing in terms of like he's reading the defense as well. He's making good decisions. Like he's taking calculated risk. Like I actually think he's playing decent, and like I think he could build. Like I think we're watching for Justin Fields is like a player who's learning how to play the position rather than just being an athlete and just running around and doing being athletic. Like, he's learning how to be a good quarterback. Now, obviously, you'd like them to do that with a better offensive coaching staff, but it is what it is. So I actually think the long-term prospects for Justin Fields here is good. Like, can you imagine? Are they going to go back to Wilson at any point? You think? Like, you can't imagine they go back to Wilson, right?
As long as they keep winning, they're going to keep going to Fields. If he has some bad games, then yeah, they might put Wilson in. But he's not making any mistakes. You're right. Like the stats aren't there like they were in the past, but he is playing smarter football for sure.
Yeah, and I think I would imagine that long term, like that, like we saw the freak athleticism in Chicago. We've not seen that through 2 games in Pittsburgh, and like maybe that's by design. Maybe the coaching staff is like trying to rein him in and try to keep him from doing things. But I gotta imagine at some point they're gonna unleash that. Like let him go. Or there's just gonna be moments of the game where he has opportunities to take over with his legs. And like, okay, if he's matured as a passer and as a decision maker, and the legs are there, like I could see Justin Fields being like just being awesome in the second half of the year. And like it's not like they've got some talent. I mean, like Harris and Warren and like Pickens, like they've got some good players around them. Like it's not like a terrible offensive, supporting cast.
Yeah. Like I said, Pickens has looked great so far, but the stats haven't been there. But he's made some great plays. Texans beat the Bears 19 again. The third time. Those logos are wrong.
What are you guys doing over there, Walt?
well, our editor, we no longer have an editor, so unfortunately, I have to do all the editing myself. So anyway, Texans beat the Bears 19-13. We talked about Caleb Williams. I don't know if we have to rehash it. I think DJ Moore, though, is a great buy low because in his first 2 games, he's played against Tennessee, as a team that has great corners. And then last week, he went against Derek Stingley, one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL. So the matchups are going to get easier, especially this week. The Colts have some terrible corners. So I think Moore could have a great game or just a breakout game for 2024. So if you're going to buy low on someone here in Chicago, I think Moore is the way to go. Conversely, I think DeAndre Swift sucks. We talked about that. 18 carries, 18 yards on 14 carries. Just not good. Mixon got hurt. He might be out 1 week. So Akers is the way to go, I think, because Pierce is banged up, but not in love with that situation. Nico Collins missed practice today. So monitor that. I don't know if it's a big deal. Wednesday missed practices aren't a huge deal. So just keep that in mind. Tank Dell did very little. I don't think he registered anything, but he is someone to buy low as well. I think he's going to have some big games. So any thoughts here?
The Mixon being injured, I got Mixon in every league. I got him all over the place. I love him. I mean, like him, Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, these guys being drafted, they were being drafted so late. So stupid. Anyway, yeah, so I got Mixon all over the place. So hope he plays. Yeah, I think you agree. This Chicago team is dysfunctional. I love the DJ Moore selection. I think he's realistically Keenan Allen. I got on every team. It seems like I don't know what to make of him. He's injured, but we'll see. The offense seems dysfunctional, and it seems like the offensive line doesn't seem great. The running backs don't seem great. The quarterback's not great. This was supposed to be a wagon. This was supposed to be the next best thing. I questioned it. I'm like, I don't know. Rookie quarterbacks sometimes struggle. I think sometimes we forget that every August. We forget. But, yeah, other than DJ Moore, I don't think you want any one of these guys. Like I said in my in our league, I dropped Khalil Herbert, which, I'm the president of the Khalil Herbert fan club. So I needed the roster spot because of my injuries on my team. And so it hurts to drop him. But at the end of the day, it's like no one's going to pick him up because he sucks. Maybe you will, but like because the offense sucks. And so who knows? Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to do anything. Hard to bet on any of these guys right now.
Reminds me of Tampa's offensive line. This offensive line doesn't open up any running lanes, so it is tough to roster anyone here. Last game, sorry, Kenny. Falcons beat the Eagles 22-21. Actually, sorry to me too because I bet the Eagles. Devontae Smith had a great game. He went over our receiving yards of 71.5, so it's a nice prop to hit. Still, it wasn't enough. Britton Covey, by the way, 6 for 23, won someone quite a bit of money on the showdown. Barkley, good game until the end. It's just disappointing, but it is one loss. Eagles can rebound. We talked about Drake London. Bijan almost had 100 yards, only on 14 carries. Not sure why he only had 14 carries. Algier getting 9 carries. This is weird. It's a weird split there. Maybe they're just saving Bijan until the second half of the season. I don't know. But Mooney looked good. 3 for 88 in the touchdown. Not sure what you can make out of that. I did like Mooney though when they signed him. Remember, I bought his Rainmaker card. Not that that means anything now. But
R.I.P.
Yeah, RIP Rainmakers. So that was at least a good purchase, but it didn't matter in the long run. So I don't know how sustainable that is, but I think Mooney's a guy who can make some big plays just because he's been trapped with bad quarterbacking in Chicago. Now he has decent quarterbacking. So what are your thoughts here? AJ Brown, like, is going to be out for a couple weeks too.
Yeah, AJ Brown being out for a couple weeks is a big bummer. Barkley had a great game, and 9 times out of 10 he makes that catch, and the Eagles win the game. There are not many games. I was pretty sick to my stomach. I just like it's pretty rare for me to get in bed and like toss and turn over a game anymore. Like I'm kind of past that stage of my life, but like that was one of them. I'm in bed and my wife's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh, I can't believe they lost that game." Just so annoyed. She's like, "Well, they'll win the next one." My wife's just so like trying to be nice and sweet. Like I don't want to hear that. Okay, I'm pissed. But from a fantasy perspective, Darnell Mooney I think is fugazi. Like I don't know. Like I don't think that guy's going to actually be a consistent producer. I think the Eagles will be fine. They've got a lot of good offensive weapons here. I think they'll be fine. I don't know if this team's like, this Eagles defense is terrible. I think it's shaping up to be a team that's going to give up a lot of yards on the ground. And so I think I hate to say it, but when your running backs are placing the Eagles, I think there'll be great DFS plays and guys are willing to start. Because I think it's going to be. I think they're going to go ham. I hope I'm wrong. As an Eagles fan, I hope I'm wrong, but I think this team is going to give up a lot of yards on the ground.
So their defense sucks right now, but I wonder if that'll change because like Jalen Carter is super talented. He just sucks right now. Like maybe he improves. Bryce Hoff's a talent player. He's nothing. Maybe he improves. Devin White's been injured. He comes back. Maybe he's going to be better. I think there's some potential with the Eagles defense getting better in the second half of the season.
Well, Carter's actually been good, I think. It's the rest of the line really? Been terrible.
I think he's. I don't know. I feel like he just
he's Carter's getting double teamed on every play. He's a good pass rusher. It's Jordan Davis alongside him that's been terrible. Jordan Davis is a total bust in the middle of the line there, and they have no depth on the defensive line, and they have no pass rush on the edge, none. Bryce Huff, I mean, he was talented, but his name doesn't get said on the telecast for 2 games. No pass rush whatsoever. Nolan Smith had a little bit of action against the Packers, looked decent, but nothing against the Falcons. And Devin White, I don't think he's going to play. Nakobe Dean is kind of entrenched as the starting linebacker, so I think White's not going to even play at all. This front seven looks like they're just not capable of. I don't know. They look terrible.
So to touch on Carter, he is getting double teamed and like he is getting some pressure, but in run support, he's just been getting like trampled over. Like he's been very weak in run support. I think he's part of the problem why they can't stop the run. It's like what I'm saying.
Maybe I don't know. He of the guys, he's their best defensive lineman by a pretty significant margin.
I
Now
think he's
maybe
the best
that's just
pass
because
rusher. I think he's the best pass rusher from the interior. But
I think he's the better, and he's been the best against the run. And maybe he's not been good against the run, but he's the best of the guys. They've been terrible. The front four has been terrible against the run and pass rush. So that's their front seven is bad right now, and you can't win games with your front seven gives you nothing. So Jalen Carter is going to have a lot of spotlight on him because he's the guy that should be the best player. It should be the one leading the way. And so obviously he deserves blame. I'm not defending him. I'm just like, they look as a unit, they look bad. And I don't know how you fix it. Maybe there's a way to fix it. And I'm just a jaded Eagles fan right now, I guess. That's definitely possible.
They have a new coordinator. It's a new system. I think they could get better. I think this team can get better. I think they have the talent to do it. Anyway, let's get to the super chat. John Sanders, 411. Thank you so much, John. Really appreciate it, John. Thank you so much. You and Griffin Stewart. Thank you so much today. John asking over under half an assassination attempt on Trump before the election. I mean, he's already at 2. So in total, you're looking at 2.5 over under.
I think it's over. I think we're definitely going to see another one.
Yes. And that doesn't include the car bomb. There was a car bomb going to one of his rallies. So yeah, he's already 2. If you want to include the car bomb 3, I think the number should be 2.5 almost. Maybe you want to go 1.5 to be safer, but if you're setting like real odds, but I think half's way too low. As Slew says, over. They want Trump dead. Everyone knows it. Yeah, they definitely do. You know what's telling with this question. So I've gotten, as I've told you, I've gotten very into selling covered calls and selling cash secured puts. The best stock for premiums right now is DJT. Their premiums are so high because people love to buy calls, or if they're Republicans, or they love to buy puts if they're Democrat. They just want to like either you love or hate Trump. Like there's no in between. And so people love or to either bet or to bet against the stock. And so the premiums for his options are so high. And like I was like, man, you could make a lot of money just selling cash secured puts, or if you get assigned selling covered calls. Like you can make a ton of money on that. But then I was thinking, I was like, man, this is not a position I want to hold over the weekend because all these assassination attempts have been over the weekend. Like, and if that happens, the stock goes to 0 instantly. So it's kind of interesting that like I was thinking about that as far as stock trading, and like I was like, yeah, but if he gets killed, it goes to 0. So that's like the main risk of the stock. Like not profitability, not liabilities versus cash assets. It's will the CEO of this company get assassinated? It's crazy. It's crazy world we live in. Now, I mean, obviously assassinations have happened a lot in the past, but with so many of these attempts, it's very telling.
God have mercy on our country. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts. We live in wild times.
We do. But yeah, thanks, John, for the super chat. Will Levis on the cover of the Bad Beat book. Yep. So let's get these questions and head on out. Stanley says, do you think Miami explosive offense will be hurt now? The Tua? Yeah, for sure. That goes without saying. I like I said before, I like Huntley better than Thompson, but nothing's going to save him at this point. Looking for a long range season, drop core from Benson. Agree, disagree. I think with the Rams offensive line issues, yes. If this were like normal circumstances, I'd say no. But the Rams have had so many offensive linemen go down, so I do think that Benson's better than Corum. Do you agree?
Yeah, at this point, for sure.
Yeah. Camden say a few other options I could trade in place of White, Ridley, Deontay Johnson, Gus Edwards. The main piece is if Ramondre is going to be worth giving up for Wilson. So Ramondre or Garrett Wilson, the only guys who would start for me. I don't know. I mean, it's in place of White. So I'm not quite sure. I don't, like I said before, I don't think I'd make that trade. I think I'd rather those guys.
My default is unless I'm in a really, really bad spot, unless I'm in some sort of desperation mode, I generally don't want to make a trade unless it clearly makes my starting lineup better.
Mm-hmm.
But like also at this point of the year, like running back depth is important. I don't know. I would be hesitant to pull the trigger on any of these trades right this moment.
Yeah. So I'm saying, why is it that starters are not playing a lot of reps in the preseason and the first couple of weeks of the regular season is their preseason? Yeah, I mean that's where we're trending to. These games don't count, so if they get hurt, the coaches get criticized, and then they get fired if the teams do poorly. So you can't blame them for sitting their starters. It's just how it goes. I just got Lamb for Kyron and Tank Dell. I mean, yes, it's great, looks great. I think because same thing with Corum with Kyron Williams. Like he's a good player. It's just like with that offensive line, they just no blocking. So it's a rough scene for the Rams. So I love that you got Lamb for them.
I think it's great. I thought Kyron Williams is overrated even under ideal circumstances. So obviously I'm even more down on him.
Yeah. Mike saying, well, he says slew. It's called football. I don't think enough scouting or draft capital is used on the kicker. It's a good one when 1 or 2 games, bad one 1 or 2. They do have a big impact. That's true. But advancing the ball only to your opponent's 35 to 40-yard line and getting 3 points seems wrong to me. I agree. With the new kickoff rules, something has to change there, or they have to change the new kickoff rules. Yeah. You do have a point slew, especially when they kick. Exactly. Yeah, they have. It's a weird thing. Why don't coaches go for 2 early in the game? Analytics in their favor. And why don't they both go for 2 when you didn't have a kicker? Yeah, I don't know. He tried to kick the field goal or extra point with his punter. It didn't work. But yeah, because they don't go for 2 because if they miss it, they'll get scrutinized and then they'll get fired. And so they're just worried about that. And then McDonald went for 2 early in the Denver game, didn't make it. They would have covered the 6 if he kicks the extra point. That's true. Yeah, I mean it does backfire, and when it doesn't work, they get criticized a lot. So they just don't want to deal with it.
The statistics show if you are a top 12 offense in the league, for overall output or a DVOA, if you're a top 12 offense, it makes sense to go for 2 every single time analytically because you'll get it more times than you don't. If you're a top 12 offense, you'll get you'll get it like 51 to 55% of the time. If you are a bottom in the 2/3 of the league, then it doesn't make sense to go for 2 unless you absolutely have to because the probabilities are against you.
You're right. It has to depend on how good your offense is. So, yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much, guys, for watching and commenting. Just really appreciate it. Thanks especially to Griffin Stewart for the $4.99 super chat and John Sanders for the $4.11. Thank you so much, guys. Just really appreciate it. It means so much to us, and it really helps out the show a lot. So, Kenny, you are the owner of thecapisfake.com. Do you want to promote your site?
Yeah, if you want to read stuff about salary cap and other random things, some fantasy related stuff in there, feel free to check it out. Especially if you think the salary cap is real, you should recognize it is fake.
Yes, it is. So yeah, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. We'll be back tomorrow after the Jets-Patriots game. Tom is going to be on tomorrow, and then Saturday night we're going to have a special guest. So looking forward to that. But yeah, Kenny, always love doing the show with you. Glad to have you back after your was it 3-week hiatus or something.
Ridiculous.
Kenny, you the man. So yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
You the man, Walt.
You the man.